Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Y'all, I have 1,200 plus plants in my house and I'm a little overwhelmed. And so in this video, we're going to talk about how I'm going to plan for literally 1,200 plants to go in the ground. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Barbara. I live in Tennessee in Zone 7B. This is going to be my 6th year gardening, but I still feel like a newbie. And that's why I created this channel, to talk about my journey as a gardener. So if you're new, please say hello in the comments and let me know what city, state, or country you're coming in from so I can say hello back. And if you've been here before, you already know that this right here, y'all, this is just one of 2 shelves. You already know how many plants I normally grow, the spaces that I have, but let's sit down and talk today about my garden plan for the summer 2026. So if you are new here, I have 3 main garden spaces that we garden in. And yes, I have a lot of plants because we have a lot of space. So we sit on about 75 acres of land. We have 3 main gardening spaces. And so the very first space that I started out with my garden back in 2020, before that, I had never put my hands in dirt, but we started off with 4 raised beds behind our house. Now behind the house, we have 5 raised beds, soon to be 6. Okay. And then we also have a high tunnel greenhouse that is 30 by 96. Inside that high tunnel, I have 5 rows that are 45 feet each long in length. And then I also have 6 raised beds that are 4 by 8. And then we also have an outside in-ground garden space that's 4,000 square feet. And we have 8 rows that are each 100 feet in length. So we have a lot of plants and a lot of ground to cover, hence why I start a lot of plants. But one of the things that I always say is that you need to plan your garden on paper before you go out and plant it in the ground. And so I want to talk through how I come up with my garden plan, why I feel like it's important. Then also I want to share with you guys new things that I'm starting this year, things that I used to do that I'm not doing anymore. So we're just going to talk through all of the things as it relates to the summer garden 2026. Okay, y'all. So let me just have a transparent moment because as we go through this video, you may walk away with, man, she has it all together. And I'll just say thank you in advance and say, pray my strength, okay? Because I do not have it all together. I do not. Let me just tell you transparently, this morning I have already had 2 meltdowns because these plants in my house, I am grateful. I did it. I knew what I was getting myself into, but it's still at this point in the season where I just start to feel overwhelmed. I feel like the plants are winning and I am losing. That's just me being transparent because I don't want you to think, on this channel, I try to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, the real, the authentic, raw truth. And the real, authentic, raw truth is that your girl today has had a couple of meltdowns because I'm like, plants are everywhere. And the upkeep at this stage of the plant seed starting journey is a lot. It's almost like they're babies. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot to water. It's a lot to move lights and, oh, this light is touching this one, it's burning it because it's up too high. The plants are big, just all the things. And if you guys have started seeds and you have seeds all over your house, you already know what I speak of. So I wanted to let you know that I do not have it all together. I am just trying to figure it out the best way that I know how and trying to have a plan to help lessen some of the anxiety, okay? So one of the things that I offered at the beginning of the year was my garden planning workbook. I highly suggest that you plan your garden. Now you may say, oh, well, maybe it's too late to get that. Well, if you have not planned your garden on paper, it's not too late to get it. I will put a link in the description. It's $19. It's a digital download where you can go and plan your garden. And the things that I'm going to talk about today are actually in that guide. So one of the things, let me start here. The first thing that I do when it comes to planning my garden at this stage is that I actually take an inventory of everything that I have. So that's how I know I have 1,200 plants. I did not just come up with that number out of the sky, nor did I go around and count each individual one. I did count each individual plant in a sense because I took inventory of what I had. So I went around to every single tray. I took the tray down and I wrote down how many I had of each one. And then I wrote it down on paper and then I typed it up. So Yes, your girl likes to be organized and efficient and intentional. So this represents all of the different plants that I have. So I can look on here and I know how many tomato plants I have. So I have it broken out into tomatoes, peppers, flowers, herbs, and then miscellaneous. Okay. And so for tomatoes, I have 249 tomato plants. Okay. And so what I will do, and I also have it by type. So I know how many, you can see that here. I know how many Amish paste I have. I know how many Paul Robeson. I have it all written down on paper. And then I was able, and I've done this every single year, at least for the past 3 years. And so I was able to go back to last year to see, okay, was I around the same number? You know, and all of that. So that was the first thing I did, was I actually took inventory. Now, if you don't have 1,200 plants like me, and you only have 200, you still need to take inventory. You need to know what you have, okay? And I always do it at this point in the season, right before I'm about to plant out, as I'm up potting and all of that. I don't take the inventory when I start the seed, because you never know what's gonna germinate. And then sometimes you have double germination. If you put 2 seeds in a pocket, both may germinate, and then you may decide to up pot both of those, okay? So first thing is I took inventory of what I had. The next thing I did is that I started to check what I intended to do, did I do? And so let me explain that. At the beginning of the garden season, if you were here, I talked about my overall plans in draft form, meaning I wanted to specifically grow more paste tomatoes, then cherry tomatoes, then beefsteak tomatoes. So that was something that I said out of my mouth that I wanted to do. Now, when I look at my paper, I want to see, okay, I said that, but is that what I did in terms of planting? And is that what I have in terms of actual tomatoes, right? And the reason why, for me, I switched up the mixture of tomatoes is because I was finding that on tomatoes, I had way more cherry tomatoes than I had paste tomatoes. Well, the primary reason I'm growing tomatoes, obviously, is to eat fresh, but it's really to make sure that I have enough to preserve for spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, you know, all of the sauces and salsa that we want to make. And I prefer paste tomatoes for spaghetti sauce instead of like a whole bunch of cherry tomatoes. They're too runny, they're too small, they're harder to deal with. And so I know for me, I'm like, we only really eat the cherry tomatoes fresh, like on salads and things like that. The slicers, like beefsteak and things we have for sandwiches. But in terms of what I'm going to preserve and put away, it's paste tomatoes. So as I'm looking at my list of 249 tomatoes, as I scan the list, let me just look and see what I have in terms of cherry tomatoes. So I have 15 large red cherry. I have 12 Sakura, so that's 27. I have 4 golden sweet, that's 31. 4 sun gold, that's 35. And that is pretty much it. So check, that's a good sign, right? Out of 249 tomatoes, only that's not even a third. Only 35 of them are cherry tomatoes, and that will produce way more cherry tomatoes than I need. Also, the cherry tomatoes are not a huge seller. So we sell them in pints, and people buy them here and there, but that's not like the #1 seller. They prefer slicing tomatoes than they do cherry tomatoes. And so that was another reason why I reduced the number. So again, one of the things that I want you to always see, like throughout the process, is that on this channel, I try to teach you to be intentional, organized, and efficient. So intention, I set intention at the beginning of the year that, okay, I want less cherry tomatoes. I want more paste tomatoes. And so now when I check my numbers, I see that I've done that, okay? When it comes to paste tomatoes, let me do a quick count. I have 26 Amish paste. I have 6 Jersey Devil, that's 32. I have 22 Juliet, that's 54. I have 18 Romas, so 54 plus 18, that is 72. I have 8 Jolene, that's 80, okay? So I'm just checking to make sure. So that's 80 paste tomatoes that I have. So that's pretty good. So that means the rest would be slicers or beefsteak, okay? So now that I know that, again, I also will get to the spaces. Or let me go to that part next. So now I kind of know that from a tomato standpoint, okay? And so then I have it for every section. I have my peppers, I have my flowers, I have miscellaneous, and I have herbs. So I grew, so this year I wanted to grow more flowers. I said that again with my mouth, that's intention. And on my paper, I have 287 flowers in terms of plants. Last year I had 177. So I started 100 more. So again, I set intention at the beginning of the year before I started any seeds, and I followed through, and now my numbers show that my results are matching my intention, okay? So that is why it is so important that you plan your garden. I did the garden plan. I didn't do a garden planning class this year, but I did one last year. And that was a great class, but that was the class, out of all the classes we've done, that was the one least attended, okay? And I believe it's because people, you, me, everybody else, don't believe that planning is essential. That's not sexy. Like, I don't want to plan. I just want to go with the flow. And you can go with the flow, but you're going to have less abundance when you go with the flow versus when you plan. And you have to remember, why are you growing food? What are your goals? My goal is to feed my family. That's the number one goal, right? And so if I know that my family eats more paste tomatoes or will benefit from that, then I need to set intention to grow more paste. It doesn't make sense for me to have 100 cherry tomato plants and 5 paste tomatoes if my goal is to make spaghetti sauce, okay? So intention is very important, okay? So I could go on and on, but again, I was checking myself mentally. Did I do what I said I was gonna do? And yes, I did, okay? So number one, I took inventory. The second thing that it also informs me of is I also will start to look at my spaces. And this is where I start to plan, okay? So I have 3 main spaces. And so I have 3 sheets that represents those spaces. These sheets are in the garden planning workbook of some variation, right? Because your spaces maybe look different than mine. So remember, I told you I have an in-ground garden space that's 4,000 square feet that has 8 rows that are 100 feet long. Well, this sheet represents that, okay? So if you notice, I have 8 rectangular to represent that lane or that row, and I am able to plan out what's gonna go in each row, okay? At the very top, I don't know if you can see, I have a T and a T. That tells me where my trellises are. So I know in those rows, if I don't wanna move the trellis, I need to put things that need a trellis, okay? Then I can look back at the plan from last year to see where things were. I'm going to rotate my crops. I'm going to switch it up. So wherever my tomatoes were last year, they're going to be in a different spot this year. That helps a lot with your soil diversity and things like that, okay? But these types of sheets are in the garden planning workbook. Now, you don't have to have that. You can just draw your stuff out on paper. Okay, sorry. You can just draw your stuff out on paper. That's what I did, and then I just had my graphics person like make it on the computer for me. That's all I did, okay? And when I say graphics person, from my business, they will do my stuff for me. So then in my greenhouse, I have one for the greenhouse, okay? That represents my greenhouse, the 6 raised beds and the 5 rows, okay? And then this is for my backyard, 5 rectangles for my 5 raised beds, okay? So I am planning out where things are going to go. Now, another thing is I know how many plants can fit in each row. So in my high tunnel, I know each of those rows are 45 feet in length, and they're spaced 18 inches apart in terms of where I plant. So because I've done this for the last 3 years, I just keep a record. I know that I can fit about 40 to 45 plants in each row, okay? So if I have 2 rows of tomatoes in my greenhouse, that means I need 90 tomato plants. Quick math, right? 45 and 45, okay? So again, I know that, which is why I know that I needed a lot of tomato plants. Then when I go out to my outside garden, those rows are 100 feet in length, and you can fit, they're 18 inches apart. I can get almost 60 plants in those rows, okay? And so if I do 2 rows of tomatoes out there, that's 120 tomatoes. Now, again, I don't put tomatoes in everything because I'm going to companion plant with basil and marigold and flowers. And so every space won't be tomatoes, but that just kind of gives you an idea. So if I did 2 rows of tomatoes outside, 2 rows of tomatoes inside, that's 120 plus 90, that's 210 tomatoes, right? I have, where's my paper? I have 249, okay? So that means I have 50 or 60 plants over what I need, which is good to have more than enough than not enough. But that also informs me how many plants I can sell, okay? Because what am I gonna have left over? So instead of me saying, hey, I got 100 tomato plants, no, I may only have 60 plants because I need the rest for myself. Hopefully that makes sense. So when you have intention, when you set a plan, and then you have your results, then it helps you to move a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. Because now, once I finish my plan and I know where things are gonna go loosely, and again, I don't do it down to the nth degree, like, okay, there's gonna be a corn, then this tomato plant, then this. I just put generally, corn is in this row. I got 60 spaces, that's all my corn. Or I have 60 spaces and I have 100 corn, I'm gonna have 40 corn left over. So I do the general overview, and that way I know where things are going and what I have left over, okay? And so no matter what scale you are gardening on, it could be 5 pots. You need to plan what's gonna go in your pots before you just go out there with your plants and just start putting stuff everywhere. And you're like, oh, I got 10 plants left over. Or, oh, you know what? I probably should have put a marigold in here with these tomatoes, but you know what? I don't have any marigolds. Let me go to Home Depot and buy a 6-pack of marigolds. But you know what? I don't need the 6-pack. I only need 1 marigold. Like, the list just goes on and on and on and on. Okay? So plan your stuff on paper before you plant it out, okay? So for me, I now have a list of what I have. I have my spaces. And so now the next thing I need to think about is, what spaces do I have that are new that I did not have last year? So for me, I have some new spaces to work with that I did not have last year. So in my backyard, I have 5 raised beds. I have another raised bed that has not been put together. So that's going to be raised bed number 6. In terms of when it's going to be put together, is also going to determine what's going to go in there, right? And so again, I'll plan for the space based on when I think that bed will be ready, and I'll know, okay, this is what I'm going to put in that bed. So that's one extra space that I have, okay? Then when I go to my outside garden, I have three beds that I did not have last year that are new. So again, that's more space. So now I can put more things in there, right? So think about whatever space you had last year versus the space you have this year. Has anything been taken away? Has anything been added? Okay? So that's the third thing. So 1, do your inventory. Number 2, plan it on paper. Number 3, account for any new spaces, containers, pots that you have this year that you did not have last year. Okay? And so then number 4, I'm thinking about what things am I going to do different that I didn't do last year. Okay? So a couple of things that I've thought about is, you guys know in the South, we struggle with squash bugs. The heat and the humidity just, about takes your stuff out. And the only way that I have managed when it comes to squash is succession planting. So I will plant my squash out usually at the end of April, 1st of May. I'll get one good flush, and then it starts to deteriorate. And then I pull those plants out, and then I put new plants in. And I can do that a couple of times because I have a long growing season, okay? What I've decided this year is that, number 1, I started a lot less squash and zucchini than I normally do. So again, looking at my numbers, I only have 8 squash plants. That's it. And in zucchini, I have 12. I have 18 zucchini plants, okay? So that's a lot less than when I started last year. So I only have 8 squash plants. I'm going to keep all of them for myself. In terms of the 18, 18 zucchini, I will probably keep 6 for myself, and I will sell 12 of them. I'll probably just do a 6-pack or something like that. Again, because I have the numbers, I know what I can do, and I know what to put up for sale. And so I'm going to do a lot less than I normally do. And one of the strategies I'm going to do this year, normally I do my squash and zucchini in the same row. So I'll do squash, then zucchini, and then some companion plants, and usually like maybe green beans or something in that row. So what I'm going to do this year, I'm going to try something new, is I'm going to actually spread my squash and zucchini out. I've never done it before. I don't know if it's going to work, but I saw another gardener talk about putting them in different places in your garden, so that way they're not all together. And so maybe they won't all get squash bugs at the same time, and maybe it'll make the squash bugs be less likely because they're not all in one space. They got to go find them, so to speak. I always do, companion plants, but because they're 18 inches apart in a in-ground space, the marigold beside it, because it's not right up on it as if it would be in a raised bed, it's not as effective as it would be if it was in a raised bed and it was intensively planted. But I am going to try spacing them out. So instead of me doing a row of squash and zucchini in the same row, I may do a squash in this row and a squash 2 rows over, and then another one at the head of the row or something like that. So that's one difference I'm going to make. The other thing is, y'all, when it comes to okra, let's see how much okra I have. I have 28 okra. No, 26 okra. No, 28. These eyes can't see. Left my glasses in the office. 28 okra. I know I'm not going to plant that many okra. Last year and for the last 2 years, I've done, I think, 8 okra, and that was enough to manage. But y'all, what I've realized is that we don't eat okra as much as I grow it. So when I was looking through my freezer, I was cooking dinner earlier this week, and I was looking for like a green vegetable. And I was looking for green beans, but I'm out of green beans. And I'm like, that just hurt my heart. So I will definitely be doing more green beans this year based on, okay, we found a green bean that we like and we have eaten all of it. Like, no more green beans. But I have 3 bags of okra. We have not eaten okra since the summer. Like, at all. Now, I could take that and freeze dry it, and which is probably what I will do, and that'll be a nice snack. But in terms of me cooking it, when I go out there to cook, I'm usually in a rush. I usually want to make something in 30 minutes or less. And so with the okra, my husband really only likes it fried, which means I gotta cornmeal it and then fry it up. And I'm like, I don't got time for that. It's in the freezer, blah, 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 blah. Right? So I wonder if I could batter it ahead of time and then freeze it. Y'all let me know. So it's easy for me to grab some green beans, and all I have to do is roast or saute, versus the okra seems like too much work. Now for me, I will roast okra and eat it just like that. Like, I'll roast it in the oven or air fry it, and it tastes good to me. But my husband, he won't eat it that way just because of the texture thing. Long story short, we're not eating the okra. Okay, so I have decided I may not do okra this year. Now, part of me is like, girl, you're going to hate that you didn't do okra. But if I do it, I may do even less. I may just do 4 okra plants. That may be what I do. I don't know. So it's either going to be 4 or none is what I'm thinking. So that's another change as well. Then as I'm looking through my list, what I did, you can see the stuff that's in blue. I did that because everything in blue is something new that I've never done before in terms of the plant itself. And so every year I try new things. And of course, I keep the things that have been doing really, really well. But that's how you find what things that your family likes. That's how you find your staples. So after I've been growing now for 5 years, I kind of have the things, at least on some level, of the things that I know that we like and that we're going to eat, or the variety. But I always try new stuff because you never know what could be your new favorite, okay? So this represents, so in the tomato category, I'm doing a new tomato called Mormongo. That's the $30 tomato seed that we bought if you weren't here. If you know, you know, okay? We already talked about that, so there ain't nothing to say about that, okay? We're going to see how I'm doing it for us. I'm doing it for us to see how this $27 packet of seeds does. But I think the seed packet had 20 seeds in there. I have 16 plants. So 16 out of 20 is not bad. And if it produces like gangbusters, we in there. We are in there, okay? We are in there. Okay. Then I have Golden Sweet. I saw that as a recommendation from another YouTuber, so I'm going to try that. I only have 4 plants because, again, I'm trying it on a small scale. Kellogg Breakfast, which is very similar, I think, to a Dr. Witch's, which that's one of my favorite tomatoes. I'm trying that. Jersey Devil is a new paste tomato that one of you guys recommended. I'm trying that. Juliet is a paste tomato that I've heard nothing but great things about. I'm trying that. That's new. Black Tula was also a recommendation from one of you guys. I have 6 of those. I'm going to try that, or maybe I'll sell some. And then Orange Hat is a new one that is a micro, like a dwarf tomato. I'm going to put those in my GREENSTALK. And so I'm trying that for the first time. And then Jolene. I think Jolene is a paste tomato as well. So I got several new tomato varieties to try. In the pepper category, Jimmy Nardello is one that you guys recommended. I'm trying that one for the first time. And then I have 2 ahi, ahi habanero, and then an ahi cachachua. I'm trying new for the first time. And flowers, I'm doing borage, bachelor buttons, and bee balms. I've never done those before. And so I have 6 borage, 6 bachelor buttons, and 4 bee balm. And so I'm excited to try those in the garden. And then I have 2 new eggplant varieties, Thanos, and then Thai ribbed eggplant. That one did really, really well. It looks much different. It's not as big, so that it's going to be more of a like a ball globe shape, and it's ribbed. It's really pretty. So I'm excited about that. And then I did 2 new herbs, orange thyme and marjoram. I've never done those before. So I'm excited about that. So y'all, look, I got 1,200 plants. I got 1,200 plants. Oh, let me show you one other thing. So not only do I have these sheets, right? My sheets that represent my space, but then also I have my GREENSTALK. And again, the GREENSTALK sheets, if you buy the garden planning workbook, it has the GREENSTALK sheets in there as well. It looks like this. It kind of represents the different tiers, okay? So you can see that. And also on GREENSTALK, it will tell you and give you suggestions about what can go in each of the original versus the leaf, what things do well in each of those. And obviously whatever can go in the leaf can go in the original because the leaf is the smaller pockets. And so I will plan out my GREENSTALKs as well. And what's gonna go in there. So y'all, 1,200 plants sound like a lot, and I won't need 1,200 plants with the space that I have. So I will definitely have quite a few to sell, but that's okay. That's what we planned for, right? But also it's good to have more than enough because as you plant out, some things may not make it because of transplant shock. Some things may not make it just because the plant dies, so that you have another one that you can replace. Also, you can sell some plants. You can give away some to a friend or something like that. So all of that is all good. So I don't plant anything in my garden. I shouldn't say that. I planted a few things in the GREENSTALK, like, you know, some flowers and things like that. I've done that because I know that's where they're going. But I don't plant anything major until I put it on paper first. So that way I know first that I have enough for my family. I know that I have enough to cover the spaces. Like, I don't have to go to Home Depot and buy anything. Now, will I? I will for some stuff that I haven't grown myself. So the stuff that I've already bought from like the big box stores, like I bought a peppermint. I bought, because I didn't grow any of that. I bought a peppermint. I bought a couple of cilantros just because I needed more in my garden and I didn't want to start the seed. And they had some sugar snap peas. I've never seen those, which I've heard that they don't transplant well, but it was on sale, so I got it to just try it out. And so I bought those. But that's really the only plants I've bought at the big box store. That's it. 5 or 6 plants. Because I really don't need anything because I've grown everything that I need from seed. But if I see something that I need that I don't have, like I'm still looking for a Tulsi or a holy basil plant. If you know where I can get one, somebody let me know, especially if you're in my area. I don't remember where I bought one last year. I bought one last year and that was the first time and I really liked it. But I don't remember where I got it from. I'm sure it was some nursery, but I went nursery shopping the other day and I couldn't find one. But that's really the only stuff that I'm buying. It's stuff that I don't have or that I need that I didn't grow myself. But what I can tell you this is what I can tell you. These hands, I sowed my last seed the other day. Your girl's not starting any more seeds. Done. Let's put up the boxes. I will direct sow, but I'm not starting any more seed. Do you see y'all saw the shelf? Your girl is done. 1,200 plants and I'm out. Okay, I am out. Hey y'all, so we talked through my inventory, what I have. We talked through my garden plan, not necessarily specifically where things are gonna go, because I mean, that's like the minutia, but you'll see it as I plant it out. But I've kind of have a rough draft of where things are gonna go. I know what I have to sell. I have like earmarked the things that are new. I have also talked about, did my intention come through on what I actually have? And I've talked through what some of my plans are. And so I am probably not gonna do okra, or if I do, it's gonna be very few. I am gonna do my squash in different places. And then with my tomatoes, I'm gonna do more paste tomatoes than I do anything else. And so we kind of talked through my plan of how I'm going to somehow get these 1,200 plants from my house out into the ground. So definitely over the next few weeks, you guys will see me planting my plants out and getting the garden finally planted for the summer 2026 garden. That will happen over the next couple of weeks. So I hope that this was helpful for you. The takeaway for you is that make sure that you plan your stuff on paper before you go and plant it out. Now, some of you have already planted your stuff out because you're a week or two ahead of me. And I hope that you had a plan. I hope that all worked out. But if you have not, I encourage you to either do it yourself on paper or download or go buy and download, buy the digital garden planning workbook, and it will be a digital download is what I'm trying to say if you need some more support and more resources and things like that. But y'all, this is all part of the journey. I'm feeling overwhelmed, and so if you're feeling overwhelmed, let me just let you know you're in good company. But we shall survive. The Father says no good thing will he withhold from those, okay? And so I'm resting on that promise. I don't know how I'm gonna get 1,200 plants in the ground. I don't even know. Because right now, I don't have any help scheduled. I tried to get some help this week, and y'all, I tried to hire 3 people this week to come and help me on the farm, and all 3 were no-shows. That's never happened to me. So when you think about me, say a prayer, for sure. I hope that we're gonna have our annual planting party for the outside garden, but because of travel, I'm not sure that we're gonna be able to have it, which means that I may have to plant this just me and my husband by myself and God. So just know, if you feel overwhelmed, I see you, I understand, I am praying for you. Try to remain focused, try to remain diligent, and do what you can as you can. Remember, y'all, this is a journey. Let's grow together. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Bye, friends.